beautiful weather is here. Hopefully it's here to stay as we get ready for a spring without playoff basketball for the first time in quite some time. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers Pregame Show presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Along with Rich Hoffman, I'm Devon Givens. Bree is with us as always. Glad to have you hanging out with us. We see you already there in the chat. Gavini, Kyle, what's going on, y'all? And everybody else that will start to trickle in on this beautiful, once again, Saturday. So we can kind of understand, Rich, where start of a back-to-back where we get 80 degrees in Philadelphia for the first time in months.
What a day.
And we get the same tomorrow. It's going to be another 70-degree day here locally. So Perfect. We understand as people start to trickle in a little bit late, as Ish is in here now. Val is checking in with us. Ish says, please keep pace. Yes, because Brooklyn lost again last night, and you need Brooklyn to continue to lose as we have 9 more games to go, including tonight, Rich. And we're ready for another barn burner as the Miami Heat joins in the town on the first night of a back-to-back for Philadelphia. Miami is on a 3-game winning streak. The Sixers on a 6-game losing streak. So that's the type of basketball and the state of Sixers basketball that we are currently in right now.
I mean, they're on a 3-game winning streak, but they had lost, I believe, 10 in a row before that. This is weird, man, because I would say the Miami Heat frustrated me more than any other team over these last 5 years.
Wow.
At least when Boston beat the Sixers, it was like, okay, they have a ton of talent, right? They are a team that is going to be making finals runs every single year. They're going to be in the mix. They might not make it that far. Miami, especially because of the presence of one Jimmy Butler, just was extremely frustrating over the last 5 years with the Heat culture. And frankly, in the regular season, they weren't that good of a team, but they were playoff risers. I'm just saying it's a little bit weird to be sitting here on March 29th and not have any juice for this game from both sides, frankly, too. Obviously, the Sixers are the bigger part of that. They, they're trying to keep up in the tank race. Big one tonight as well. We have, I believe Brooklyn is in Washington.
Yes.
That's a winnable one.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if they can do it.
But is it? Right. Yeah.
That's going to be a barn burner down in D.C., but yeah, it's a little weird that Miami comes in here and they kind of stink. They're going to be, I don't think they're going to make it out of the play-in, personally.
No.
And, Bam Adebayo is having a really tough offensive year. He has found life without Jimmy pretty hard. Yeah, it's just strange, right? Because these guys have always been an extremely frustrating team. I respect them. It's not to say that I didn't respect what they were all about. I thought the culture thing was maybe a little bit overblown because you saw Jimmy Butler. He was like, I don't care about your culture. Where's my money? And then when they didn't give it to him, he said
it was a little overrated.
He said, yeah, let's get out of here. And he's been bad mouthing them over the last few months. So that's been fun personally for me. But yeah, it's a little bit strange that they come in here and it's like, Miami's in here. That's just another team that's probably going to beat the Sixers. They have a lot of guys hurt, but they do have Adebayo healthy. They do have Tyler Herro healthy. I really shouldn't have to go that much further.
Yeah, I mean, with the trade, of course, you think about if you don't remember because the trade happened so long ago, Miami has been kind of, again, non-existent. But Andrew Wiggins is there. And, you have Wiggins there with them. And he's had some pretty big individual games for the Miami Heat, but he's out tonight for the Miami Heat. But even with that, you would look at the other side and say, 2 All-Stars in Tyler Herro and Bam Adebayo, and they should beat the Philadelphia 76ers. And I say should, but as Rich just pointed out, this is a team that lost 10 games in a row before this 3-game winning streak. And ironically enough, as part of this 3-game winning streak, to get away from that 10-game losing streak that they had, that was, in fact, beating the Golden State Warriors minus Steph Curry, but Jimmy Butler back in town. You felt like Golden State was certainly motivated. So was Miami. You had Eric Spoelstra chest bumping with players after, big plays going into timeouts because of how important that game was with the way that Jimmy Butler conducted himself in leaving Miami, how much he has said, as Rich pointed out, since leaving Miami, that meant something for both of those franchises, and Miami got that win. So with all of that, that might have jump started. Maybe giving them a little bit of a get the jumper cables started with Jimmy Butler coming back into town, getting a couple wins under their belt. Miami should still look at the Philadelphia 76ers as a team that they should beat. Honestly, too, when we talk about teams that maybe they don't want to make it, maybe they're trying to fall themselves. Miami doesn't have that luxury because Toronto is still like five and a half games back of the 10th seed.
The Sixers, Toronto, and Brooklyn are like, go ahead, you're in. Like,
yeah.
I don't care what you think, you are in the race.
The only one really trying to snatch it is Chicago, and they're playing really well.
How about the ending to that game the other night?
12 seconds, 9 points, and a half-court buzzer beater.
Phenomenal. Wow,
unbelievable stuff.
That was insane.
So they won it. They won it.
Well, look, and we have our friends over at CHGO. I think they are pretty sick of the Bulls' mediocrity act, which, by the way, I completely agree. That's been the case there for a long time. I understand that. But at least they're like, no pun intended, they are grabbing the bull by the horns. And they are actually like playing well heading into the playoffs. And Giddey is playing well, and they have a bunch of different guys.
White.
But that was an amazing ending against the Lakers.
It really was. It really was. But yeah, so this is where we are right now, Rich. 9 games to go. We're not going to do a countdown every game and say 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But at least I didn't think we would, but maybe we will. Maybe that'll be a fun little exercise that we have going on. But the final 10 games was 7 home, 3 away, 3 in a row here in Philadelphia, including tomorrow against the Raptors, which is still a big game. For the Sixers, just because
it's a huge game.
Yeah, it's still a big game.
Biggest game on the schedule.
It may not be as big as it was 2 days ago.
You're right.
But it's still very big for the Sixers. But with that being said, after tonight, there will be 5 more games at home. After tomorrow, there'll be 4 more games at home with 3 on the road Tuesday in New York. But Rich, we're down to 9 here as the season starts to, again, just continues to just trickle away. And our focus, as we know, a lot of people has been on the offseason and certainly trying to keep this number 6 pick. So 9 games to go, man.
Sure. And I think a lot of our listeners probably know by now, in our room over there, a few feet that way, we have 3 TVs. Mm-hmm. Cooper Flagg will be on the other TV tonight. I think that'll be a good game.
100%.
Alabama against Duke.
If we can get the Nets, we'll have that game on as well.
Absolutely. Man, he's playing really well, huh?
Flagg.
He's so much more comfortable with the ball in his hands, too.
I mean, after those first 2 games to get to the 32 and, win that game to advance to the 16, we just said it. He played really well. He looked like still the number 1 overall pick that didn't have to overexert himself. He did everything to help his team win. That last game to get 30 and do all the other stuff, rebounding the basketball, assisting the basketball, play good defense. Man, he's
so under control.
Yeah, he is.
It's wild. So let me ask you about the Heat trade. What did you think about their move? I mean, they have this thing where all year Pat Riley gets in this staring contest with Jimmy Butler. You could call it another contest, but I'm not going to say that on our show tonight. But they basically say he's like, you got to play, and Jimmy Butler's like, okay, we'll see. I'll play, but you're not going to like what the output's going to be. I'm going to be.
Do you want to play this game with me? I am the king of this.
Because I don't really care about, all of your rings or whatever, because I am amazing at making life uncomfortable for you. So they end up with Kyle Anderson, Davion Mitchell, Andrew Wiggins, and a 2025 first-round pick from Golden State that was top 10 protected. So they'll get that pick. Mm-hmm. Look at that pick. Golden State, I think, is going to make the playoffs. Sure. So, it'll be closer to 20, though, I would say. Feels like they waited too long on that one, right? If you're not going to pay Jimmy Butler, it's kind of what the Sixers did with James Harden, right? If you're not going to pay him the long-term contract, I guess you got to move him, right?
And do it much earlier, yes, because the Sixers, while they didn't do it in the offseason, there was a lot of back and forth. That's how we got the now famous Daryl Morey's the liar from James Harden over in China. That's how we got the famous words there from Jimmy Butler. From James Harden, we didn't get those from Jimmy Butler, except for the reports were out there, that he wanted out. Miami Heat said, we're not doing that. And all of that continues to go on. So much so that Derek, when we did our bold predictions for the start of the season, he said, I think Jimmy Butler's going to be traded. Yeah. And he was right about it. Now, it wasn't something that was super, super crazy, but it's, again, knowing how Jimmy Butler operates, understanding where Pat Riley typically goes with when you try to hold his feet to the fire. He's not going to cave. He's not going to give in. What do I think about it? I think Jimmy Butler won. He still got himself in a pretty good situation out there in Golden State.
Oh, yeah.
Even if they don't win this year, they still have the offseason to put together the team that they want to make that final push while Steph Curry is still Steph Curry, while Jimmy Butler still has some Jimmy Butler legs left in him, and Draymond Green is the ultimate I know my role player on the floor that will do anything to help you win. So they'll figure out something with Kuminga if that's worthy of keeping or moving on from him. They'll do all of that. So I still think that the Golden State Warriors won the trade. And to your point earlier of Bam Adebayo is still trying to figure out how to play without Jimmy Butler, and the fact that they went on a 10-game losing streak with 2 All-Stars on their basketball team that were healthy, by the way. We're not talking about 3 All-Stars in the Sixers case where you had 2 of them injured for various parts of the season. Those are 2 All-Stars in an Eastern Conference where you believe that they can still win basketball games with arguably the best coach in the NBA running things there in Miami. The Heat culture that finds ways to develop players to have them go out there and contribute, where you can still get some things done. And you have other players that you just feel like can fit in and still win basketball games. They did not. So when you talk about winning that trade, the Miami Heat did not win that trade. The Golden State Warriors certainly did. And Golden State's going to get in. We'll see how things play out with whatever series that they're in based on how they play in the play-in tournament.
I don't think they're making a deep run.
But
I
the
think
Miami Heat are going to get knocked off in the first game, most likely, of the play-in tournament, and that's going to be it for the Miami Heat. So, yes, Golden State clearly won that trade, especially with getting a sense of what this team will look like in the future for Golden State in the very near future once they again, put things together in the offseason with Mike Dunleavy figuring out how to put the rest of that team around those 3.
You mentioned Bam. He is so mid-range reliant, and he's just not that dude from mid-range. He's okay. He can make some shots. He's like a 40% shooter. I think it's like 43% from there. But, we always talk about it with the analytics and stuff. Analytics, they'll tell you Joel Embiid shooting a mid-ranger, good shot. Yeah. Good shot, great shot, in fact. Dirk Nowitzki back in the day, great shot. Bam Adebayo, I'm gonna need you to get to the rim a little bit tonight, buddy. Okay, I'm gonna need some dunks. I'm gonna need some easy buckets, some free throws, because you can't be taking mid rangers against this bad Sixers defense.
No, you cannot. You remember those trades where Jimmy Butler wants Joel Embiid in Miami, bring back Bam Adebayo and Duncan Robinson and maybe Tyler Herro, whoever it was that you would put that team together. That Bam Adebayo, and I see You Better Love Somebody, our good friend Better Love Somebody, said the Heat are going to be fine. But the point of it was when you make a trade like that is to be fine now, too. They might be fine. They might figure things out in the offseason, but they were supposed to be fine this year also. They've played games without Jimmy Butler on the floor. He's, like you said, they just kind of walk and coast through the regular season. They get to the postseason and they turn it up as an 8 seed. It's not like they haven't played without him before to know what it's like to go out there, that it's your team, that it's Tyler Herro's team, and the rumblings that were out there that Bam Adebayo was tired of the stuff surrounding Jimmy Butler.
Which I understand.
Which you understand, but you also got to go out there and produce because you are the face of the franchise. Yeah.
He's, it's funny. He is a guy that I really respect, like his backstory and kind of how hard he has worked to get to that level. And I also respect him as a playoff player. If we go back to the 2022 playoff series, Sixers Heat, like, man, some of the defense he played against Joel in those games. Now, look, Joel had a broken face. He was out of shape because he missed that week as well. And Joel had some big games as well during that 4-game stretch at the end. But he's just so relentless as a playoff competitor. And, he does all the switching on defense. He does all the passing. But again, I think the thing we are seeing here this year is there's a difference between being a super valuable player. And by the way, that's still a max level player. That's still a guy that is one of your 2 or 3 best guys, and you can build around him and should be happy to build around him. But there's a difference between that guy and a superstar, a 1A, a guy that you give the ball all the time. And it seems like he is not that. One other NBA thing, because we were talking about this yesterday when I was in for the Eagles show, Taylor Jenkins getting fired, huh?
It was on my list, yeah, to ask you about the Taylor Jenkins thing.
What the heck's going on there, man?
Well, number one, they hired a bunch of new assistants last summer.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they hired a bunch of new assistants last summer that weren't his guys. The front office just hired their own guys and gave them to Taylor Jenkins and said, here, do something with this. He was still very good. They're still in the top 5, tied for 4th in the Western Conference playoff standings. Ja Morant has been in and out of the lineup, even though we haven't had the off-the-court issues. He's been in and out of the lineup. So being in and out of the lineup, you would expect for them to take a bit of a step back. You also had a thing on the sideline the other day where Desmond Bane is shoving Santi Aldama on the sideline. So you talk about what's going on there. Yeah, stuff like that. What is going on there?
What's going on?
That your coach gets fired. He is about to he's preparing for the postseason. So he's about that happens. You got your max player, one of your max players, Desmond Bane, shoving a really nice role player that seems like he just goes out there, does all the dirty work, goes about his business. And when you see the Twitter account, the one that always drops in, and it seems like they have these super microphones to pick up what guys are bickering about or about to fight about. And Desmond Bane is saying to Santi Aldama, play some defense. That's what he does.
Yeah, I know.
That's what he does. And what, he missed an assignment? Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's like, that happens, right? It's the NBA, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get this. You're not going to get this right 100% of the time.
Do I need to point at you, right, for the bad shots you might take or the defensive assignment that you missed?
Too.
Yeah, exactly. So what is going on there?
I don't know. So you mentioned the assistant coach, right? And they brought
Coaches.
Yeah, I know. But the guy.
Oh, the one taking over.
Is Salo from.
Yeah.
I think I'm pronouncing that right, from Finland. And if I'm wrong, I will listen to how it's pronounced by people who are closer and then say it right the rest of the time. But you're right. Yeah, a complete staff overhaul. And they ran a very different offense than they had been running. They have run very few pick and rolls so far this year. It's been like very isolation heavy, but also with a ton of off-ball movement. It's been pretty cool. And they've been, I think, like a top 5 or 6 offense on the year. Now, it seems like these assistant coaches, including our friend from Finland, were the guys who inserted that. I think the Grizzlies front office wanted that to happen. But here's my thing. Like, Ja Morant doesn't like that offense. He wants to run pick and rolls. And Taylor Jenkins, if he was the one who was not like spearheading these changes, it just seems like the coaching staff or the coach, the star player, and the front office, they're just all on different wavelengths. It almost seems like this is like not a shot at Ja Morant, but like a warning at Ja Morant, where it's like, all right, this coach was probably more aligned with you. You've played for this guy your entire career, but we're doing this. It's our way. We really believe in this style of play. It's just fascinating to fire a guy with 9 games left in the season. Like, they're about to maybe host a playoff series, man. And yeah, like, to fire Taylor Jenkins, again, like,
I thought he was going to win Coach of the Year this year.
I thought he was going to get pretty close, right?
I mean, look, we know what
they're talented.
OKC
they're not that
is,
talented.
Yeah, especially when guys keep missing games.
Yeah.
Especially their star player, their franchise player.
They have depth, and Ja Morant has not been very good this year.
He has not.
Well, and Devon, here's the thing. I've always been afraid of Ja Morant. Ja Morant is, I should rephrase why I'm afraid of Ja Morant. I'm afraid of Ja Morant's like long-term career, and not for the off-court reasons that everybody knows. No, to me, when you watch that dude live, he moves different than anybody on an NBA court, which is impressive because NBA players move different than pretty much everybody else, just normal people like us in society. But he was just at a different level. Like, he would levitate, the way he would move up and down the court. I worried a little bit, though, about what happens when that athleticism declines. I mean, it's something we've seen for players for a lot of their careers. Now, some of it is because of injury, but you think back to like Derrick Rose, right? That guy was an MVP caliber player, but it went fast. And obviously the injury that he suffered against the Sixers and then the subsequent injuries the next few years, they played a huge part. Our guy, my favorite player of all time, Allen Iverson, right? That was not a guy who was going to play deep into his 30s as well. So I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on there, but I was very surprised that that Taylor Jenkins got fired.
Yeah,
seems like he was doing a good job. Now,
shocked.
And it's like, even if you're going to fire him at the end of the season, like, let him have the playoffs. What? there's no way shaking it up at this point is going to work.
No, not at all. And you have to wonder what's going on in the locker room and their thinking about how things are playing out. Yes, they're running a different offense, but that's just strange, man. Just strange for them to give him all season to do this. Top 5 in the West, very tough West. And now you got him, you get him out. So that's the wild part. Art had asked a little bit earlier as I was going back, Taylor Jenkins. So when stuff like this comes up and it's a very good head coach, naturally, because of the way the Sixers season has played out, naturally you get these questions. And it's a fair question. If we were to talk about Bob Myers taking over for Daryl Morey or some other coach being let go, should he be a candidate in case Nick Nurse is let go? Taylor Jenkins. We talked about it the other day on the show where you're not going to let go of one of the guys from the front office or the head coach. If Josh Harris were to make a move, both are most likely going to go. But in the event, just the hypothetical having a conversation, how much do you like Taylor Jenkins? If he were to be a candidate for the head coaching position, would you have interest?
Yes, I would.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think they could go a bunch of different directions. It might even depend a little bit on, do they get this pick? Do they need more of a development coach where they're going to start building around the draft pick and Maxey and McCain a little bit more? It depends. I mean, I think Taylor Jenkins is a pretty good option from what I've seen. Even if this offense was not really his idea, this 5-out isolation offense, he at least installed it pretty well, and that team has always defended at a pretty high level. I mean, they had one bad year, man, and it was because last year, they were the Sixers last year, where they were just completely banged up. And I remember the Sixers played a late season game in Memphis last year, and there were guys, they're playing like Trey Jemison and some of these other guys, who is actually playing a little bit for the Lakers right now.
I see that, yeah.
But yeah, they were really relying on G Leaguers and players they had no idea were going to be playing for them. So yeah, I thought he did a pretty good job. People always point out, okay, he knows the area. He went to Penn. I don't actually think that really matters all that much, but I imagine he will be a pretty sought after coach. He will get another shot at some point. Will it be with the Sixers? I don't know. You're right. I don't know if they actually make the move with Nurse. I think most people know my feelings on that one. But yeah, maybe Taylor Jenkins. One other thing about Taylor Jenkins too, he is an underrated freak out guy. He loses his mind on the sidelines sometimes.
Yes, he does.
Like even angrier than Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse gets, he obviously has the glasses and it's like the funny, perplexed look. And yeah, there have been a couple times where Nurse has been hot. Taylor Jenkins is like losing his mind to the point where whoever those assistants are, whether they're from Finland or America or whatever, they got to get him back, man. It seems like he just completely loses his mind.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He absolutely does that. But I wouldn't mind it. Also, if that were a move that were made, I also wouldn't mind it here in Philadelphia because I'm very interested in him as a head coach.
But there will be other options. The other thing I will say about a potential new coach. Last time when Nick Nurse and Budenholzer were out there and a few others, I did think you needed somebody with experience just because you were going to coach Embiid. You were maybe going to coach Harden, but you were eventually going to coach Paul George and Maxey, a more veteran-laden roster, a team that was definitely trying to win organizationally and make a deep playoff run. I wonder if that's not the case this time.
Yeah.
I wonder if they go we're talking about Brooklyn, Jordi Fernandez, who before they started to tank like crazy, was actually a pretty impressive coach so far this year. I wonder if they go that route.
Yeah, well, but when you say that though, championship caliber team potentially, is that the route that you need to go when you're trying to win? And with Embiid still here, Paul George, you give him an extension, you give him a 4-year deal. Tyrese Maxey is Tyrese Maxey. Do you give a coach like that the runway to try to get this team over the hump, Brett Brown style?
It all depends on your organizational goals, right? It's, are we going to be able to compete in the next 2 years? Are we going to be able to compete right away? I mean, really, it boils down to like, what the heck's going on with Joel? Like, do we actually think he's going to be able to play next year and get back to a much higher level? Because if the answer is no on that, then I think your list of coaches opens up. I would also say if Cooper Flagg is on the team next year, maybe you get a coach who can grow with him, or maybe Taylor Jenkins is the right guy too. I do think like I've seen enough good coaching jobs in the NBA. It's funny, like the average fan, most fans on Twitter, when you follow the Warriors and the Grizzlies, like Grizzlies fans, they wanted Taylor Jenkins out. And that is something I think we see in a lot of different places where people are just fed up with their coaches, right? The Warriors fans, they're fed up with Steve Kerr. Who cares that they've won all those titles? I'm actually the opposite. I actually think there are a lot of pretty good coaches in the NBA, and it's less important than people think. Like it still is a players' league, and I do think a lot of coaches can get people over the top. That said, am I being hypocritical because I have talked about Nick Nurse and being like, maybe we can get a new guy in here after the season is over.
Seen enough already. Let's take a quick look at the injury report because there are a number of players out once again for the Philadelphia 76ers. I count right now 9 out tonight available. Jalen Hood-Schifino and Lonnie Walker available out for the 76ers once again. Jeff Doughton, we know he only had a few more games left, like 4 games left. 3?
It might be down to 2.
Might be down to 2 with 9 games to go, so he only has 2 games left. So he's out. Andre Drummond, Joel Embiid, Paul George, Eric Gordon, Kyle Lowry, Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, Kelly Oubre out once again for the Philadelphia 76ers.
They couldn't sit Quentin Grimes if they wanted, Devon.
Rest.
He better be rested tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's the one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you might.
Quentin, go enjoy Philadelphia. It's going to be a nice night.
Yes, it's going to be a good day. Good day.
Stay out.
Yes, stay out. Let's get to the starters then with all of that, all of these players available. I'm trying to think. Adebayo gets to start at the 5 next to Yabusele and Edwards in the front court. Grimes and is that Butler?
That's Butler.
In the back court. That rounds out your starting 5. Thinking about this one, this has to be 50. This has to be starting lineup number 50. Right, Bree? This has to be starting lineup number 50. I'm going to look up where Bonus starts, who's he starting with so far this season, just to get an idea that, is this number 50? Just looking at the starting lineups.
I at least like that lineup.
So
I've enjoyed 4 of those guys so far this year, and Jared Butler is fine too. The expectations weren't that high, but I would argue the other 4 guys, along with McCain, have been the pleasant surprises of this year.
This is starting lineup number 50. The only other time he started with Yabusele, Ricky Council, and Jeff Doughton were the other backcourt guys with Jared Butler and Yabusele. So this is starting lineup number 50. Number 50.
The Sixers probably should tell us that on the graph. On the graphic.
I don't think they want to share that too much.
Starting lineup number 50.
50th of the season. They're trying to keep pace with as many losses as they have on the campaign. They're up to 50 losses. They have now 50 starting lineups for the season. Man, this is a interesting one once again for the 76ers. Let's get to the Bet365 pick segment brought to you by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Quick rundown here on the same game parlay. Grimes is playing. I'm going with the over. It's not 26.5. They bumped it back down to 23.5.
What?
So I'm going with it.
Oh,
maybe because of Edwards having a good game and Yabusele having. I'm like, he's the most consistent. Oh,
I think you can put that in the bank. That
23.5 for Quentin Grimes. 7+ boards for Khalil Ware. I know he's gone against Adebayo, and Adebayo is active on the glass as well. But I am going with Khalil Ware to get 7+ rebounds.
I think
with
that's
that
easy.
one. That's an easy. That's a plus 125, I believe we have it as at Bet365. Go ahead, lock it in. We've won like the last 3, 4, so you might as well jump on in, lock it in. That is, again, our Bet365 pregame pick segment brought to you by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Quick score update as we have our Tank Watch and Prospect Watch tonight. Washington is up with 4 minutes to go in the first quarter, 18-16 in Washington. They got blown out by 40 the other night after the Sixers beat them. After they beat the Sixers. They were getting rocked in that game against the Pacers. They wound up losing 140 to 100 or something like that, I think it was.
Yes.
So
a little bit of a step up in competition. I don't even know who they played, but I think that's going to be true regardless.
Let's go Nets. Turning around with these final 30-plus minutes of the game. All right, that'll do it for us here on the pregame show presented by Bet365. Rich, how you feeling?
L.
I agree. Keep the L's rolling for the Philadelphia 76ers. We'll be back after the game to discuss whatever happens in South Philadelphia between the Sixers and the Heat. We hope that you can join us because we will also be talking about updating you on the Nets and the Wizards, also Duke and the prospects from the Blue Devils in this big game tonight for Cooper Flagg and company. For Rich Bree, I'm Devon. We'll talk to Derek post-game live from the arena. Kyle has the night off. Everybody have a great rest of your time here. Watch the game. Come back and join us a little bit later. Talk a little Sixers hoops while you sit outside on your backyard. Have the TV all set up. Put your feet up. You got the double TVs going or one TV and a laptop watching these games. We'll be talking about it post-game presented by Bet365 right here on the PHLY Sixers post-game show. See you then.
We all silly like the mayor.